Every time they spend a fiver, I'll just be more relieved that we've finally signed a 10. Roma, the Giallo Rossi, AS Roma. How come Rangers have never played Roma? How come Rangers have never met Roma, never been paired with Roma, never been drawn against AS Roma in European club competition in all our decades, all their decades of European club competition as we currently know it, whatever that phrase means? It gets more meaningless, never mind vacuous, as each season of continual change to the European club competitions we used to love so much takes place. How come Rangers have never met Roma or Lazio, for that matter? How come Rangers have never been drawn against either of the big, fat Roman clubs who play out of the Stadio Olimpico in the capital city of Italy? How come Rangers have never been paired with either of them? And this is the weekend, of course, of Vatican-related conspiracies. Is it a pro-Vatican conspiracy? Is it an anti-Vatican conspiracy? That is the Old Firm. That's the main game in the Old Firm. It's an ongoing game. It never really stops. Conspiracies. Who controls the SFA? Who controls the referees? How come everything you've won doesn't actually count that much? Well, it's because of this conspiracy. How come everything we've won actually counts for a bit more? Well, it's because we did it against the backdrop of this massive conspiracy against us. Is it a pro-Vatican conspiracy? Is it an anti-Vatican conspiracy? We never really know, but the heat and the light that comes from the Old Firm fixture, it's a permanent fixture, it's an ongoing fixture, it's an organic thing. It just goes on all the time. It only reaches a peak, really, only gets as hot as the sun, I would say, at full time on an actual fixture, an actual game, when our actual players who actually represent both those actual clubs take the actual pitch and play an actual match of football. I think at full time, that's when it shines brightest. The heat around the Old Firm fixture, that's when the conspiracies really kick in. That's when the bitchiness and the paranoia and the mania and the bitterness, that's it. Just scorching hot heat. Full time for the next couple of days. Maybe it's a Sunday kick-off this time, so maybe Monday it'll shine bright, Tuesday starts down, maybe breakfast time on Wednesday it starts easing off a bit and it gets cooler and cooler, and then it starts getting brighter and brighter as we head towards the next one of the half dozen fixtures that we inevitably play against each other in each interminable season of this 40-year-old two-horse race. It's only been pretty much a one-horse race for a lot of the last decade. But how come Rangers have never played Lazio or Roma? And this could be an actual bona fide, genuine pro-Vatican conspiracy, an anti-Rangers conspiracy that's actually kind of, at the heart of European football. Yeah, it's backed up by the men. It's co-signed by the men and the token women they let in to these things just to make themselves seem more PC, but they're actually a bunch of absolute tossers at UEFA. That's a conspiracy that they're maybe actually signed up to, and it might actually not be that bad an idea when you think about it, because I don't think they want the teddy bears on the Tiber. I don't think they want the Teds going about the castle St Angelo and throwing themselves off the battlements like Tosca. I don't think they want us going to the Colosseum, and more to the point, I don't think they want us turning up en masse at St Peter's Square. But I just think it's weird. It's 70 years. This is the 70th season of European club competition as we currently know it. What that phrase means now, I don't really know. It doesn't even make any sense. It's a phrase I use all the time. But the difference and when it started in 1955, the difference between then and now, I mean, the rate of change to nomenclature, to formats, the changes to formats in European club competition would make your eyes bleed. The changes to the number of teams that are allowed to take part, the makeup of the groups. The Conference League's already changed its name. It's only been gone for 3 seasons. The Conference League has already gone from, it's a subtle one, Uefa Europa Conference League, to just UEFA Conference League. They've missed out the Europa bit because it seemed too much like a second division, didn't it? Second division. So you've got to make things more marketable. You've got to make things like, and it's easier to say. It's for television. I think the Cup Winners' Cup had to go the clumsiest nomenclature in the history of European club competition. We are the Cup Winners' Cup winners. We'll take a bit of that. Rangers, you're only allowed to win one European competition. We'll take the one that sounds clunky. It's just the way our socks are in the blue and white, blue or white. Our socks are red and black to go with white shorts and a blue top, It does go, but it goes in a staunch way, the same as being a Cup Winners goes. That's what we're going to get. We'll take that one, and that was one of the Roma have won a European competition as well. Roma played their first European final in 1961. They beat a team from Birmingham, called Birmingham City, a team from Britain wearing blue jerseys. They beat them in the 1961 Fairs Cup final. Same year, Rangers lost. Rangers, a team in blue from Britain, lost to Fiorentina. We wore our away kit in both legs of that. The first Cup Winners' Cup final was home and away. Constantly changing the format. It changed after a season, and it wasn't the official UEFA Cup Winners' Cup in that first season, but I think it was by about the second season because Fiorentina won it, and Artemio Franchi, he was their chairman and also was high up in the Italian FA, and he ends up being a top man in UEFA. So God, he was going to get that sanctioned officially straight away. The old Italians, if they win stuff, that's the only time it counts. But we played them 61 Cup Winners' Cup. That was our first European final. Like I said, Roma played in the 2022 Conference League final. The same season we played the 2022 Europa League final. Roma played the 2023 Europa League final. Roma have played in 5 European finals. Rangers have played in 5 European finals. Lazio have played in 2. And yet that's 12 finals between us and the 2 big Roman clubs, and we've never met each other in European club competition as we currently know. It started in 1955. This is the 70th season. This is the 70th season of European club competition. And I say it as we currently know it because there was other competitions, the Mitropa Cup, and there was other wee competitions, more regional ones, the Latin Cup and stuff like that going on round about Europe before, going right up to, and sometimes overlapping with the Intertoto Cup and stuff like that. There was all wee European club competitions going on, but the main European club competitions, as we currently recognise them, if you like, started in 1955. And it was, we had the Intercity Fairs Cup, which is the forerunner of the UEFA Cup, which then became the Europa League. The first match in that started in, it was the 2nd of June 1955, and it started in Basel. The first game I ever played there was in Basel. It was in Switzerland. Quite appropriate. No, not really, because the Intercity Fairs Cup wasn't UEFA. It never was UEFA. They changed it to the UEFA Cup when it became UEFA in 1971. But in 1955, when it started, it was a committee who run it terribly. It was appalling. The first Intercity Fairs Cup took 3 seasons to complete. The second one took 2 seasons to complete. The next one took like 18 months. They only had 13 editions, and I think it was maybe the 9th edition before they managed to get it all run and done within 1 season, because they wanted to be run in conjunction with international fair trades. International fairs, tradesmen fairs. It was businessmen. It was Sir Stanley Rouse. Sir Stanley Rouse was the head of this committee that was more like a FIFA committee. They were running the Fairs Cup, and they run it so badly. But Sir Stanley Rouse was basically using football as an excuse for businessmen to make money. Go straight to the top job in world football. Go straight to being president of FIFA, and there's a knighthood as well. That's an idea, Sir Stanley, that we are going to park and maybe slip it in there when we get round to changing the Champions League. When we get round to changing the European Cup and really cashing into that in the 1990s. But yeah, the first match in the Fairs Cup was early June 1955, and it was Basel against the London 11. It was select sides, mostly select sides at that point in time from all these cities, and London 11 was made up of the 11 players from the 11 London clubs, not just Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, West Ham, etc., but you had Millwall players, Brentford, Leyton Orient, Charlton. They were quite a big consider. In fact, Eddie Firmani of Charlton scored the very first goal when European club come in that game. They won 5-0, London 11. Crystal Palace, they had players. The Crystal Palace, the Selhurst Park Eagles, the Eagles of Selhurst Park, they had players in the London 11 select side, and a few months later, it was September 1955, Partizan Belgrade had to go to Lisbon. They were playing against Sporting Club de Portugal, that you will know wrongly as Sporting Lisbon. They're actually called Sporting Club de Portugal. And they had to play them in the capital of Portugal in the very first leg of the very first round of the very first ever European Champion Clubs Cup that became the European Cup, that became the Champions League. It was always European Champion Clubs Cup. I know that, I'm just talking about it. And it's such a prestigious occasion that was recognised as such by the Portuguese, unlike the English, who banned Chelsea from taking part. They moved it from their home stadium to this place called the Estadio Nacional. It's a national stadium of Portugal, and it's in Lisbon. They moved it to the Estadio Nacional, where the Lisbon Lions would be born 12 years later. In the only European final ever played at the Estadio Nacional, but this was the very first match ever played in the European Cup was played at that same stadium, and it was the Lions of Lisbon, because Sporting Club de Portugal, they're green and white hoops, but they've actually got a lion on their badge, not to be confused with Benfica, the other huge club in Lisbon, who are the Eagles. They're the eagle, the eagle that they fly around the pitch before the game. You've played them a couple of times recently in Europe, Benfica, and they got the eagle, the big eagle in their badge, Benfica. But that game was a 3-straw, Sporting Club de Portugal 3, Partizan Belgrade 3, so an epic game for the first match in what became an epic competition, the European Cup. But that's 70. This is the 70th season. That's 55, and we're going to 2024, 2025. This is the 70th season of European club competition, and Rangers have never been drawn against either of the Rome clubs. And you've got the computers, haven't you? You've got the computers, the big computer. I've never seen Roma. I've never seen so many European teams. I've never seen Roma. This season, I'm seeing Spurs for the second time in my life, but the other time was a friendly. This is the second time Spurs have been drawn against to meet Rangers in European club competition. It's the third time we've played Manchester United in European club competition. It's the third time we've played Olympique Lyonnais, Lyon in European club competition. It's the second time we've played Union Saint-Gilloise in European club competition. It's the third time we've played Malmo, FF Malmo in European club competition. FCSB, if they are Steaua Bucharest, and it's part of an ongoing legal debate, but if they are the proper claimants to the history of Steaua Bucharest, and this is the fourth time we've met them in European club, the fourth time we met them in European club competition, Nice, OGC Nice, the Olympic gymnasts from Nice. This is the second time we've met them in European club competition. The first time was the very first match we ever played in European club. They were first ever European opponents. We're not theirs though, because they played Aarhus in a preliminary round in the second ever edition of the European Cup back in 1956, 57. That's when Rangers started European club competition. We've still never played Roma. We're playing all these teams. I mean, we haven't played Olympiacos before in European club competition. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe we have, and I've missed it, but we haven't. But yet we played them last year. We played them last year. We played them last summer, and they beat us 3-1 in a friendly at Ibrox. I was there, and Olympiacos went on to win their first ever, Greece's first ever European club competition. But that's how all these teams have played them so often, but yet we just can't seem to get Roma or Lazio. I've seen Lazio. They played in one of the European competitions. They changed the final. The format of the final even was getting changed. They had 2 one-off finals in the 13 editions of the Intercity Fairs Cup. The UEFA Cup was started in 1972, 71-72 season, the first ever one won by Spurs. That went on until 1997-98 season. They decided to change it from a home and away. It was home and away finals the whole way until 97-98, and it was Fat Ronaldo, the phenomenon, the best Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo. He put on a show in Paris as Inter hammered Lazio 3-0 because the first time they made it a one-half. Go for a neutral venue. It was 2 Italian clubs. They had to go to Paris, but what a venue that is. At the start of everything is a Parc des Princes, in which every iteration of that beautiful stadium is on display, whether it's got that cycle track or not. But the following season, Lazio were back in the European final. They were back at Birmingham at Villa Park, and their manager was Sven-Göran Eriksson. R.I.P. Sven-Göran Eriksson, a man who has taken his clubs, 3 different clubs. He reached a total of 5 European club finals, an absolute guru of the world game, of the continental game, and he won the Cup Winners' Cup that night for Lazio. Lazio's only European trophy, only their second European final, and I was there. The last match I ever played in the Cup Winners' Cup was the first match I ever went to in the Cup Winners' Cup. My club that I love so much, the only trophy they've won is the Cup Winners' Cup, and yet the last time we played in it was 1981-82 season. I didn't start going to European football until 2.5 seasons later or something like that. So I was too young to go to that one. I didn't quite make that one. So I'd never seen a Cup Winners' Cup match, but I'd never been to a European club final at that point in time. It was at Villa Park. Chelsea get beaten. The holders never retained the Cup Winners' Cup. We know how we didn't retain ours, but Chelsea get put out by Real Mallorca, Hector Cooper Real Mallorca in the semi-final, and that was a green light for me, my mate, to try and get in. And we did. We got to, because Chelsea fans come from West London, just walk up the the M5, the M1, whatever they can get themselves up to Birmingham. No bother. I've been absolutely mobbed, but no, it's a Spanish club against an Italian club. You had a chance then of getting tickets, and we did in the Doug Ellis stand. And I saw my first ever. That's the scarf I got in Lazio, half and half scarf, Real Mallorca, Lazio, and you can see. I mean, it's not a brilliantly detailed scarf there, but they've managed to represent the eagle. The Roman eagle that Lazio were, kind of fascist eagle. But that's the thing with Rome. I've been to Rome as well. I went to Rome the month before I get married. Did it the wrong way around, had the honeymoon before the wedding, but it's a beautiful city. It is the eternal city, that neoclassical stuff they represent. Neoclassical, the ancient history. I wish we'd signed Hannibal. I mean, a Carthaginian, we were supposed to be in for him. Hannibal of Manchester United, we were supposed to be getting him. They are against the Carthaginians, the Alps and stuff like that. But we didn't get him, and I'm disappointed we didn't get the guy, the Egyptian fella that played for Pyramids FC, which just sounded Egyptian. Plays for Pyramids FC. What was he? He had a brief transfer over to China to play for Great Big Wall Rovers. He went to Italy and he played for AC Lasagna, and then his youth career was in France, because they're quite francophone, the Egyptians, for Racing Club de Garlic, whatever. But I was disappointed they signed him. But that's the whole thing. The pyramids, Hannibal, crossing the Alps, and stuff. It's all ancient history, and that's what just Rome. That's all it's all about. Absolutely fantastic city. And egos everywhere, because the egos, the fascist thing, it was just Mussolini being a bit of a knob, a bit of an absolute walloper. He wanted, as all these kind of wallopers do, they want to take on the very homoerotic symbolism of your ancient Romans, of empires, the days before, when democracy was just a token gesture. And it's all egos. The Ninth Legion, the eagle of the Ninth, the Lost Legion, the Ninth Legion, the legions, the Roman legions, but when they went into battle, they'd have a standard that was an eagle. They'd have an eagle at the front to show that they were, they were pure hard and stuff like that. But the Ninth, they went over Hadrian's Wall into Scotland. They were never seen again, and their standard got stolen. That's the legend. It probably didn't happen like that. But the eagles, it's the fascies, the bundles of sticks with the lightning rods coming out of them. That's where you get the phrase fascist and that kind of thing, and that's where that all comes from. So it's off of ancient Rome. So Rome is all about, I've been to Rome, but Rangers have never been to Rome. They don't want the teddy bears in the Tiber. They don't want the Teds on the Castle St Angelo ramparts like Tosca. They don't want the Teds in the Colosseum. They don't want the Teds turning up en masse, to mass at St Peter's Square. And so the computers that are this, it's a 36 team group, we can't cope with that now. We can't do it with the balls. We can't do it with the plastic balls. It's got to be computerised, the draw for your 3 European club competitions these days, on Thursday and on Friday. But they've still got the old ball when it comes to the home and away, haven't they? Who's gone home, who's gone away? Because Roma and Lazio were in that bloody draw yesterday, and we never got either of them, because it's like, computerised, who's playing who there? Let's just see who's home and away. Oh, that's roasting me. That's Roma. Rangers are going to get Roma in Rome. No away for Rangers. Put that away. Lazio. What's a host? That's freezing, that one. We can't have Lazio playing Rangers home and away. That's it. But that's the thing I have to stop, because it's now changed. We had it for a wee spell, 2005-ish, didn't we? One of the many format changes. They had it in the UEFA Cup. It's still the UEFA Cup. Did that stupid 5-team group thing for a few seasons. Was it 3 seasons, 2 seasons? I can't remember. You play, there's 4 other teams in your group. It's a 5-team group, and you play 2 away from home. You play 2 at home. Remember that? Amica Ronchi, we played in it twice. Amica Ronchi, Graz, or remember Graz, the other team from Graz, no Sturm Graz, the other one was it Liebherr Graz or something, FK Graz is probably their name, but it was a sponsor thing. Auxerre, I think Maccabi Haifa, Livorno, or Partizan Belgrade. We played all of them in that at that point in time when it was set up like that. So, you only played one at AZ, we played them just away from home, and I was raging because I've never seen AZ, and I want to see AZ because they're on this list I'm going to tell you about later of teams that I need to see. And so done it before, but yesterday was the main chance. You play 4 teams away from home, 4 teams at home. Different, you don't play the same team home and away. So they could have had Roma at Ibrox. You could have had Lazio at Ibrox. You'd never have, particularly, I'm interested in Roma. I just need to see Roma. Roma are becoming really embarrassing for me to have never seen them. I've got a Roma shirt in there, but I've got a Roma, there's a wee Roma pennant behind, but I've never seen Roma. 1984 European Cup runners-up. They played at Tannadice, but they've never played at Ibrox, and it's really embarrassing. There was a chance yesterday you could have them at Ibrox, and we didn't have to go to the Vatican City. We didn't have to go to the Tiber. We didn't have to go to Rome, the Appian Way or whatever, but no, it's still no going to happen. We've crossed the Rubicon when it comes to Rangers not drawn Rome clubs, and never shall we go backwards. My name is Alec Anderson. Well, down the Copeland Road, we're trying to loosen our load. We've got 7 transfers on our minds. 4 of them are loanies, 2 we want to own, please. 1 scores goals in record time. Take it easy, we've got a Skipiri. Number 10, don't let the sound of other teams' transfers drive you crazy. I hate the fucking Eagles, man. Get out of my taxi, dude. Get out of my taxi. You can't go hating the Eagles because Rangers have signed an Eagle. We have signed Nedim Bajrami. We've signed a Ned. He's an Eagle. He's a Skipiri, the Albanians, the Eagle people, the Albanians. He scored that goal in record time. The fastest goal ever scored in the finals of the European Championships. 23 seconds against Italia. And the bite in the hand, it feeds. No, plays for Sassuolo, or he played for Sassuolo, he plays for the Teddy Bears now. He's Albanian. He's an ethnic Albanian. His parents, Albania. He was born in Zurich. Remember last time we played Sloy Bucharest in European club competition? We were in the Champions League group with them and with Grasshopper Zurich. Your young man, Nedim Bajrami, 25 years old. He was born in Zurich and he started at Grasshopper Zurich. He played for Grasshopper Zurich. And then he ends up with Empoli. He's played Serie B. He's played for Sassuolo in Serie A, and he is number 10. He's the number 10. He can play on the left. I think he played mostly on the left of attacking 3 or 4-2-3-1 formation. I think the Albanians kind of favoured, so that's quite handy during the European Championships. In Albania, we are sensational. Only got the same amount of points as Scotland. 1, don't use the plural, like it was a singular 1, but my God, they didn't get tanked 5-1 off anybody. Oh, they weren't playing Germany. No, they were playing the holders, Italy, in their very first game, and they were winning after 23 seconds. They drew 2 each with Croatia. Well, recent World Cup third place, World Cup finalists. They were playing with Croatia in their second game. They drew 2 each with them. Absolutely thrilling match. I watched that one. That was in the Olympic Stadium in Berlin, and then they lost 1-0 to the team that had gone to win it, Spain. They lost to them in their other match. There were no 5-1 tankings for the Albanians. I know Spain had the reserve team out, but come on, they were already through. The reserve team's still better than most international sides there. I know Scotland are the only team to have beaten Spain in any part of those Euros that Spain just won, but still, the way Albania turned up that the Westfalen Stadium, he's caused a shock in the Westfalen. We know that's what Rangers never lose in the Westfalen. The wee man, I just determined he's a wee man. I've never actually seen him in the flesh. He's gone in there and he's done the same thing. He's made himself right at home. There was actually a few more. The crowd's a bit busier than it was when Rangers played in the Westfalen for the last time. But it was no home fans. It was like Italy, the holders. They've got them totally outnumbered. There was more Italy fans the last time Italy had played there in a major competition at the Westfalen when they beat Germany, the hosts, in the World Cup semi-final in 2006. They come back, there must have been 50,000 of that 60,000 crowd was Albanian, ethnic Albanian. That's a big phrase, ethnic. We're playing Celtic. That's why all the crap that goes on around Old Firm games makes me want to boke, because there's enough genuine. Are you watching Corridors of Power? Corridors of Power, should America please the world? You should watch that series on BBC iPlayer. It's essential viewing. It will make you absolutely boke at some of the pish patter that goes on around Old Firm games, where that kind of crap can lead to, and how lucky we are. But we've got our own ego. We've got him. Skripiri, that's what they call it. The Albanians, they call themselves Skripiri. That's the making the sign there, and there's a big thing with them. The troubles in the Balkans in the early 1990s led to a lot of Kosovans, Albanians, ethnic Albanians, Kosovans. Then they go to Switzerland, didn't have to go in small boats. They go across land, so that was okay. And that's why so many of them have settled and done so well in Switzerland, done so well for Switzerland. Skripiri, Granit Xhaka, they're like Kosovans or Albanians. It's the same thing. They're eligible to play for 3 different countries: Switzerland, Kosovo, or Albania. But even when they're playing for Switzerland, they score against the Serbs. Now they go up to the Serb fans, they give it the old eagle, don't they? We want a bit of that bite. Liam Neeson can't get all the Albanians in the Taken films. We've got one that's absolutely superb. He did me what a favour he did me. What a favour he did me in that game, because I think that was maybe the 4th game in a row. I was trying to watch that Saturday during the summer there in the European Championships. It was the early stages, the group stages had just started, and it was a Saturday. I think it was a game at 2 o'clock, a game at 4 o'clock, a game at 6 o'clock, and I was going for 4, but I was pushing it too far. Getting to the 8 o'clock kickoff was Italy against Albania for the Westfalen. I'm thinking, that's quite tasty. But my wife, quite really, she's like, no, you're going to watch this. You can watch it in another room, but you can't watch it. It's a Saturday night. We're going to have a night in, I don't mind you while I watch the game, but I like to watch a film on a Saturday night. And I thought, you're quite right, dear. That's fine. She likes the football. It's not like so. She's done well. I want to watch a film myself, so that's fine. And I think we might have squeezed in a wee comedy or something like that, a wee half-hour job, and then it was time for it was 8 o'clock. I should probably preparing my drinks or an evening snacks. That would take a good quarter of an hour. And I thought to myself, I'll just watch the kickoff. I'll just watch kickoff of Italy against Albania, see how that goes. Fastest goal in the history of European Championships, 23 seconds, 50,000 Albanians gone absolutely mental. This is sensational. Italy equalised 11th minute. Went 2-1 up in the 16th minute. By the time we're settled down to get our film on, that was it. Game was done. It was by me. Finished 2-1. So it was good. I've already got great vibes about this guy. He makes my life so much easier. Nedim Bajrami, we have brought him for £3.4 million, undisclosed, from Sassuolo of Serie A. He's going to be our marquee signing, I would think, of this summer transfer window. I think we got him in 23 seconds before the 11 o'clock deadline, before that window slammed shut, as it always does. in the summer transfer window. And because Shaqiri is a Shaqiri, and he scored against Scotland in those European Championships. We saw him playing at Ibrox for Lyon. We got Lyon in the group stages of the UEFA Europa League, and we got to the final. When last time we played Lyon in 2007, 2008. I mean, we beat them 3-0 over there, and we never lose in Lyon. And then they beat us 3-0 at Ibrox. We beat them 3-0 in Lyon. They beat us the Stade Gerland, the previous stadium, and then they beat us 3-0 at Ibrox, and we got to the final. We ended up getting to the UEFA Cup final that season, dropped to the Champions League into UEFA Cup, got to the final. Every time we play Lyon in European club competition, we get to the final. But Shaqiri, Shakira, they're all they're linked to the Albanians, the Kosovans, the diaspora in Switzerland. Some of them play for Switzerland. Some of them start off, are born in Switzerland, and they go to play in Italy, and then they come to the Teddy Bears. That's going to be fantastic. Ghost stories? Do you like ghost stories? The best ghost stories I find are the ones that are told to you by somebody. There's no such thing as ghosts until it gets dark and you're like, there is ghosts, and I don't want to see one. The best ghost stories are from people who believe them. And they do the way to make it. If you're going to tell a ghost story via film or whatever, like, you're going to scare people by a movie director. The best way to do it is by putting in ordinary stuff. It's just a very subtle change. None of this, ooh, I'm carrying my own head kind of stuff. That's you can do horror. That's horror, but the most believable stuff is the stuff that's just a wee bit. It's just a bit off kilter. It's just no right, and it's told very calmly, very soberly. David Lynch. There's lots of straight out scary stuff in Mulholland Drive. The guy behind the wall at the back of Winkies. Absolutely utterly terrifying. But one of the scariest bits in the whole film is when, in the middle of the day, in a glamorous LA apartment with the sun blazing, it's like no spooky music, nothing, no spooky noises or anything. Somebody is there, and then they're just not there. They're standing in a bedroom, and they're not in that bedroom. It's just where did they go? Nothing's mad. And there was a fella I used to, when I was doing my property management day release thing when I was working for the ATMA's property department back in the late 80s. I was a practical person. I did my day release course, and there was a guy lecturing to do a wee module on law, and there was a fella who was he'd been a QC. And he still dressed like a QC, he had the wig and everything. The man was eccentric. I think something must have happened, drink related or something, and he found himself lecturing at the Glasgow College of Building and Printing. But he was great. He was really properly posh. He just looked like Rumpole of the Bailey. He's probably younger than I am now, but at the time when I was only in my late teens, he seemed to be a really quaint old guy, and he told these fantastic, very, very posh. And he was giving us great lectures on law. He knew his stuff, but one day he just tells us a story. It's a small class, he just tells us a story of how, and was the court of session, one of these old courts, the oldest courtroom in Scotland or something like that. He was talking about it wasn't due to be getting used, and he was just doing these rounds. He was doing, going about his kind of the admin side of his job, whatever. He's in chambers or something like that. He needed to go into this courtroom, I think, to grab a pen or something. It just, there's no trial on in here today, so I can just nip in here. I was going to grab something. And he walked in through the door, and it was mobbed. The courtroom was absolutely jam-packed, and they thought, oh God, I must have got that wrong. I thought this was going to be empty. And he could feel everybody staring at him. And he thought, no wonder, I'm not supposed to be here. That's what a beamer. And I felt a cold sweat. I thought it must be embarrassment, but it was a cold sweat. It was quite strange. And he looked up, and he just noticed that everybody was wearing ye olde worldy costumes. No, not even Victorian. I think it was maybe kind of Regency or something. This was a really old courtroom, and he thought, that's what it is. It's a TV thing. They must be shooting a drama, a period drama. And because this is such an old court, it's been around for hundreds of years, they've got everybody in here wearing period costume, and they're all raging at me because, I've interrupted the shoot. They're going to have to cut and all that. And so it's said his apologies, and he got straight back out there. Feeling weird, though, a bit, these cold sweats. And he bumps into a colleague of that or like, maybe it was a janitor or something. I think he said to somebody, you should really have a sign in that door saying, I've just walked in there by accident. There's a shoot going on in there. What are you talking about? And the two of them walked back in, and it was empty. Empty. And it wasn't actors wearing the oldie worldy costumes. It was the oldie world in that courtroom. And it was pretty terrifying. We told me that story. And I've never had an experience like that, or have I? Because I don't know if you know, but back in 2017, Rangers had got back into Europe. We thought we might be dead. People kept telling us we were dead. Are we dead? Do we see dead people? Are we, are Rangers? We'll hear more about that this weekend, no doubt. But there was a lot of talk of Rangers actually being dead, and we were going back to our stadium and that kind of stuff. But this was back. We hadn't played in Europe for like 5 years. And that was the thing, as I was growing up, it was one season at most when Rangers weren't in Europe. And we hadn't been in Europe for 5 years because we'd been down to those lower leagues and what have you. And here we were back in Europe. We played a team called Progress Niederkorn from Luxembourg. I'd never heard of them before. But a team from Luxembourg, you don't expect to have heard of them. And we beat them 1-0 in the first leg of our first match back in Europe for 5-6 years. I can't remember exactly how many years it was. And right at the start of the qualifying for the Europa League, and I thought, well, that's fine. We only beat them 1-0 in the home leg, but it's we got a new manager, Pedro Caixinha, back in March, and we got a lot of new signings. Look, that's going to take time to bed in, and you know how it works in Europe. There's away goals rule still applied then, so as long as you don't lose an away goal, you win the first leg 1-0 at home. That was you. You were always set up for the second leg. They'll have to come at you. You'll open them up. The team will have had another week together. They've got themselves sharper, more used to each other. We'll be absolutely fine. So I went to Jersey. I went to St Helier. Only time in my life I've ever been to Jersey. And I got on the plane at Glasgow Airport to go to Jersey, and Derek Johnstone was sitting in the front row on the day of the second leg. And I wasn't bothered about going to the second leg because I just thought it's in the Rangers don't. It's a team for Luxembourg, you know. The Rangers I grew up with, the Rangers I know, you don't lose to teams for Luxembourg. There's Derek Johnstone, a Barcelona bear, the man from Rangers' greatest ever moment in European football. And I thought to myself, that's quite the thing. You know, we're back in Europe, and there's a guy from our only European trophy winning side played at centre half in Barcelona that night. I thought that's quite symbolic. And the playing Lions in Jersey, my first time ever in Jersey, and the first night we were there was the night of the second leg. I didn't even think about it. It was just a beautiful place in Helier. And as my wife said to me, we'd walked past a sign earlier, doing a wee tour of the town, a sign outside a pub saying, Progress against Rangers live tonight. I think it was an early kick-off as well. And I said, you want to go get a few pints and watch the game? I'll sit on a few drinks and get in the holiday spirit. I said, no, this is all about us. I'm going to park the Rangers stuff for a while because I'm really worried about this game. And we had a nice night out. I went for a meal somewhere else. Had a few drinks. Didn't look at my phone or anything until I got back to the hotel. It was a Radisson, but it was a badly run Radisson. It was a free for all, the buffet breakfast every morning. It was mental, but it was nice and beautiful. Down the marina, lovely views, beautiful looking across the bay in St Helier, absolutely beautiful. So we'd been for a meal, etc., and a few drinks. I wasn't steaming or anything like that. Just a pleasant wee evening. We come back fairly early. Let's nip into I'm going to nip to the bog. And I did, for want of a better phrase, I was sitting on the pan, looking through my phone. I thought, I better check the result. And because the game wasn't on the BBC, I think it was shown in I don't know if it was Sky or whatever, some sort of satellite channel. I think it would be Sky that was showing this second leg. The BBC website didn't have a photograph of the actual game that had been played that night. They only had a photograph from the first leg, so it showed the Progress players just having a kind of, thanks very much for coming, to a few of their fans at Ibrox. So it showed the Progress players not very smiley at Ibrox with some empty seats behind them. And that added to this, what then happened. And I looked at my phone and I went, oh, aye. Progress 2, Rangers 0, so that's 2-1 in aggregate. Yeah, that makes total sense. Anyway, I'll go and I'll check Twitter and see what my pals are. Oh, no, wait a minute. I actually didn't register. I wasn't drunk. I was technically drunk, but I wasn't. Compared to how I usually drink, I was pretty sober, and I was instantly sober, properly sober when I realised what I'd actually just seen, and I went back. No, it's an actual double take. We've lost 2-0. We only won 1-0 in the first leg. We're out. We've been put out. The 1972 European Cup winners have been put out of Europe by a team from Luxembourg, and that wasn't the spooky moment. The spooky moment came the next day. When we arrived at this hotel, it was really busy, so it was badly run. Radisson, lovely build, lovely location. It was really badly run, but that's probably how we could afford it. But there was a table in reception. It was the time when everything was bling. And there was a sofa that we just sat on while we were waiting to check in, just taking it easy. And there was this table, and it was a kind of mystical table. It's part of the whole. The kind of swirling, almost smoke, like, what is it witches look into? The pot, the witches, what do you call that? Cauldron or whatever. This kind of pattern in it that looked like it was actually moving, which was probably That would probably be the idea. And I remember sitting at this couch looking at this table thinking, that's a weird table, I must be tired. I kind of jet lag coming from Glasgow to Jersey, but anyway. And sitting at that table, you come down the stairs and you're looking down on the lobby, and there was a crowd of people, a frenzy for breakfast. Everybody trying to get my fried eggs before me and my wee German sausages. But in the middle, sitting at that same sofa, was a guy in a full Rangers kit. Full Rangers kit. Not a full kit wanker. He can't be a wanker because he won the Rangers kit. But he didn't look like a full kit wanker either. And the thing was, he had the red and white socks on. And they couldn't, just a few seasons before that, to celebrate the 140th anniversary of Rangers and the 40th anniversary of us winning the Winners' Cup, we'd brought out the kit with the red and white socks and the kind of crew neck, just the RFC on the scroll crest on the tit. But it just looked like the 1972 Winners' Cup ghost was there. And normally, I thought I should go up and talk to that guy. I remember thinking, I should go and talk to that guy and just say, oh, that was murder last night. I could maybe do with a bit of sympathy. It'd be nice to talk to somebody. But we don't do this. Rangers fans don't do this. We don't, if Celtic get beat on Sunday, on Monday you'll go to your work and there'll be folk wearing the hoops, because they'll be defiant because you were cheating them, and they're showing you that they believe and they live. And I think we don't do that. We get beat, we're like, that was crap. We don't hide and like, I'm not putting a jersey on that. Rangers have embarrassed me today. I'm not going to. But we just don't do that. I think something made me not go and talk to the guy. Maybe I just didn't want to know. I didn't want to talk about it. If talking about it would make it real. But was he real? Was he actually? Was that a vision? Because Rangers haunt me. Somebody said to me a few weeks ago, after we get beat after Dynamo Kiev, and I was pouring my heart out about what Glasgow means to me and all that, and why Rangers are such a massive part of it. Somebody, you shouldn't make Rangers your entire life, and they're not. They're not my entire life. But my God, when I try to ignore them, it haunts me. And what's kept us alive, what's made us a proper going concern since 2012, which is it's been the kind of, I don't know, give yourself a slap, give yourself a wee tap, spank at the baby's bottom, whatever, that tells us we're alive, has been our European adventures. The following season, we went through 4 rounds of European qualification and got into the group stages. A veritable miracle. And it started a run of consistency in Europe, the like of which we haven't seen since the 60s from Rangers. Rangers played 3 European finals in 11 years, 61 to 72, played 3 European finals. In between times, we were getting beat in the quarterfinals of the First Cup by Leeds, beat in the semi-finals of the First Cup by Newcastle. That's the kind of level of consistency we have reached. It's not 11 years yet, but since that horrific loss to Progress Niederkorn when one Eduardo Herrera, an absolute waste of space from Mexico, made his debut in Luxembourg. He made his debut that night, Eduardo Herrera, and it really summed up his absolute nothing of a Rangers career. He's forever associated, for me, more than Pedro standing in the hedge, with a humiliation, the worst ever European result in our history. Or was it? Because it seemed like a book ending when in 2022, 2023, we finally got ourselves back into the group stages of the Champions League. That was where we were supposed to be. Just months earlier, we'd played in a European final. And it was going badly, and okay, we didn't really expect much because the state of the infrastructure of the club was just getting built back up, and it was a really brutal Champions League group stage, but it was getting concertinaed because of the World Cup getting played that winter. And we got Liverpool, who had been in the final a couple of times in recent years, and they beat us 7-1 at Ibrox, and it was 5, and I'd never seen Rangers losing 6. I've seen us losing 5 goals. That was one of the other things under Pedro that made us wonder. Losing 5 goals at Parkhead, okay, but losing 5 goals at Ibrox, I'd never seen Rangers concede 5 goals at Ibrox, and here was Liverpool scoring 6, and then 7. And I stayed to the very end. I always stay to the very end. And I turned round, and where I sit at Ibrox, the south stand, the main stand, the Bill Struth stand, the bit I sit in, it's over towards the Courtland, about half a dozen to 8 or 9 rows behind me is a kind of overspill area. The real dignitaries go in the centre, they go in the director's box and what have you. But if there's players' family or ex-players and that turning up, somebody's looking for a free ticket, they'll get them up in this area behind me. So sometimes, I've sat next to Alfredo Morelos' mum just a few seasons ago. There's a player that we dotted about quite near me. And I turned round and he was smiling, because somebody obviously said something to him. You have to walk up the steps. From where I sit, you have to walk up the steps to leave Ibrox to get to the vomitory. And so he was smiling, and he just made eye contact with me, because he's thinking, all the fans going past are going to recognise me, and smiling at me as I left what might have been definitely the worst Rangers game I've ever attended, was Eduardo Herrera, who was there with his family. He was over from Portugal. He was staying there all the way from Mexico, but he was on a wee junket, and he'd got to sell some freebie tickets, and he was sitting right behind me like a spectre of the worst night in Europe, saying, I'm here to give you an even worse night in Europe. And that's haunted me, but it also keeps me, European football, also, I thought that was going to be, I thought that was a bookend, and that meant that was it, that good run in Europe was over. But no, last season, and we still do it chaotic style. That season we got to the final of the Europa League. We didn't score a goal in our first two. We lost our first two games. Lyon at home, Sparta Prague away, and we end up, we get to the final. A terrible start, and we end up getting to the final. That's after getting put out the Champions League third round qualifier by Malmo. And Europe keeps us alive. We're going to Parkhead on Sunday, and we haven't beaten them at Parkhead since 2020. We haven't had a meaningful league win over them since Big Hollander's goal 3 years and 3 managers ago. In the league, we beat them 3-0 the season before last. Didn't beat them at all in 5 meetings last season. And we go along there on Sunday, and it's like we're expected to get beat. Celtic have made bigger name signings than us and bigger money signings than us. Their squad's a better place. They're in the Champions League. We're in the Europa League. They're so set up. We're so terrible. And it could be a do. But this idea that they've dominated when a league the size of Scotland, when at least half of your job there is doing something in Europe to raise doing something in the big boys' playground, and they have not been past Christmas. They will get past Christmas in Europe this season because the extended group phases of the 3 European club competitions means everybody plays up to January in the group stage. But can they get out of group stage? And that is something we saw. The guys accosting Peter Lawwell outside St Mirren. That was all over outside St Mirren's ground last week. That was all over Tinternet and that kind of thing. Celtic have dominated domestically, but it hurts them. It hurts them that they haven't done it in Europe, and we have to. I'm just saying this not to taunt Celtic fans, because obviously it's humiliating that we can't beat you. But to let Rangers fans know, not to be too down on the club, because by God, what we've done in Europe has been absolutely magnificent, and we will win the league this season because the winners of the league this season just go into the playoff round of the Champions League. You don't get the three seasons that our coefficient raising exploits in Europe meant that the champions of Scotland go straight into Champions League group stages. Celtic have won the league. The last time that wasn't the case, we won it. The next time that's not going to be the case. End of this season. So maybe that means we're going to win the league this season because we won't get straight into the Champions League. But what we've been doing in Europe has been absolutely magnificent, and I know Celtic, they'll be scared that they're going to get tanked by Atalanta and Borussia Dortmund while we go and we play Man United at Old Trafford, who are unpredictable at best and won't really be concentrating on the Europa League. Maybe they'll underestimate us, you never know. No, we could get humiliated in there, but there's every chance, the way it's been going recently, that Rangers could pull something off, and it's. I think we need to realise that when we go to Parkhead on Sunday, it's a 50-50 split. The honours in Scottish football aren't just about the 3 trophies that are available domestically in Scotland. It's about what you can do in Europe as well, and we have been just so far and above everything else that Scotland has to offer in Europe since 2017, really, and it's been magnificent. And I find it difficult that I find myself kind of raging against the European competitions because I've got so much invested in them. This is my 41st season of going to see European club competition, and they change it. They've changed it. What they've done. It's constantly changing. The format, as I've said earlier, is constantly changing. What they've done this season hates the fans. It's so much of the stuff that they do, UEFA, to the European club competitions is about hating the fans. It's just milking as much TV revenue as possible. It loves the armchair fans, that's who it's after. But the paying customers, people like me who kept European club competition alive by paying through turnstiles. It's no about Real Madrid drawing Napoli in the first round of the 1987-88 European Cup, which meant either Italy or Spain, 2 of the biggest TV regions in an increasingly deregulated Europe, was going to be going out straight away. It was Maradona's Napoli as well. It's Heysel. I sat there as a 15-year-old and I watched Liverpool against Juventus in the 1985 European Cup final. I watched that. Is it my mum and dad? I think it's a parents' night at the school or something. They weren't there. And I was sitting in the house myself watching this, absolutely traumatised, watching people dying. Because this is the European Cup final, the most prestigious game in European club competition, and the stadium was crumbling, and the fans were all mixed together, and there was so much animus amongst the Liverpool support because of what had happened to them in Rome the previous season, on terrace season, in the streets getting stabbed up. I don't want the Rangers to play away to Rome or Lazio because they're very stabby, the Roman ultras. No matter who they're playing against, everybody's politically aware these days about to get us something fierce. So European football did not care about the fans in any way, shape or form back then. Just let them die. Basically 39 died that night. And I was in the jungle. I was on terrace and packed terrace, and I think it was a bigger crowd at Parkhead for the Scottish Cup semi-final, Rangers against St Johnstone, the day of the Hillsborough tragedy, when Liverpool played Nottingham Forest at Hillsborough in Sheffield on packed terraces. And when we played Red Star Belgrade in the European Cup, that great Crvena Zvezda Belgrade side that beat us 2-0 in the first leg. Ibrox was half empty for the second leg. It was home and away, but you saw teams home. When you drew somebody in Europe, you knew the whole point of European club competition when it started in the 50s. I know stuff's got to move on, but come on. It was about being able to see a foreign club, truly foreign clubs. And it was glamorous for us when we go English clubs. But you play a team away from home, and then you get them back at your home. More fans are travelling these days, and that's fine, but to have a group stage where you're playing 8 teams and there's 4 of them that you won't see at your home stadium, it's a fucking insult to the people who kept this shit alive. We burnt the candle, we kept the torch going for European club competition when it was Nazi skinheads running across the terraces of Europe kicking folk to death. When I was getting BNP, I was at National Front literature handed to me outside a half-empty Ibrox. We stood on those terraces that were death traps. We kept this competition going. We got it from the glory days of Real Madrid, Puskas scoring a hat-trick before half-time in Amsterdam, but Benfica came out and beat them 5-3 with Eusebio and what have you. The 7-3 game at Ham, there were 127,621 people there, 135,000 tickets printed. It wasn't even a sellout, biggest crowd ever for a European final. There was no Scottish Rangers get tanked in the semi-final. What a game. It's a classic. It's been held up as the greatest game ever played. It isn't. I've watched it, but it's very balletic. It's really amazing. It's like watching Casablanca. It's no, the production values have changed and the acting's terrible, but it's all of its time. You can tell that it's magical, and we managed to get your European Cup from the glory days, right through all the endless 1-0 finals. 79 Forest 1, Malmo 0. 1980 Forest 1, Hamburg 0. What was it? 81 Liverpool beat Real Madrid 1-0. 82 Aston Villa beat Bayern Munich 1-0. 83 Hamburg, HSV, HSV, they beat Juventus 1-0. 84 it was 1-1. It went to extra time and penalties. Liverpool and Roma. Oh my God! There's been 2 goals in the final of the biggest competition in European club football. 1985, the night of the highest tragedy. It still only finished 1-0. A penalty. Michel Platini scoring the penalty and taunting Liverpool support, which really helped after he scored it. And it was never a penalty either, but who's going to talk about that with all the stuff that's going on? It was a terrible game. It should never have been played. 1986, 0-0. Just to make up for the fact that we'd got 2 goals in the final. Stoy Bucharest against Barcelona, 87, 2-1, and things started changing slightly when Porto beat Bayern Munich 2-1 in Vienna in 1987 final, but it's endless 1-0, turgid, awful finals, the only games shown live across the whole of Europe back then, and it was guys like me who got your flipping European Cup through those years, through the deaths on the terraces, through the crap finals, and got them to the stage where you could remarket them as the Champions League, Zadok the Priest and all that, and all the advertisers, and Rangers were right at the heart of getting that done as well. Maybe we deserve what we got off Liverpool for helping create this competition, but this just now is an absolute joke what UEFA are doing. I'm absolutely sick of it. And I've already kind of shown my personal interest here, declaring an interest, but the biggest interest, and this podcast, isn't it? I'm not telling you about transfers. I'm not telling you about the tactics for Sunday. I'm not telling you about the manager. And I am just talking about me. And this is I'm an influencer. I can't help it. I talk about steak bakes, sausage rolls. Next day I go into Glasgow, everybody's eating steak bakes and sausage rolls, and that's not a coincidence. That can't be. I'll take my payment in steak bakes, thanks, Greg's. You're welcome. I go to games at Hampden now. I see Rangers supporters. A lot of them are bald. bit fat of face, specs. I mean, he's adopting my look. My look is all over the west of Scotland now. I mean, that's no a coincidence. I'm an influencer, and like most influencers, this is really my own. This is my reality series where you're just invited to watch me and my spoiled brat relationship with Rangers. You know, how come I never get to Madrid? How come you never take me to Madrid? How come you never go to Milan? It's always Braga. It's always Leipzig. It's always Stuttgart. I want to go to Madrid. I mean, okay, I like that time, that wee date we had at Hampden back in December, that League Cup thing, that was nice. We brought the cup home, that wee bit of silver, that was absolutely fantastic. But that time in May, started off all right, but it ended terrible. It was a disaster. You're just not treating me right. You're not treating me right. You should be watching me. I've got more following, I think, than Heart and Hand and the Kardashians and Beyonce on the internet. I'm an influencer. So in that vein of just talking about me, this is I've had this since I was a kid, since my childhood, my traumatising childhood in Ardrossan, when sometimes Rangers didn't even win the League Cup. And we always won the League Cup back then, but that's we all get the Alexander thing, we all get our name across the Bluebell gates. We got that through the post a few years ago, but I used it, I put that on. I was in my 30s when I did that. My 40s maybe even, but I've had that folder since I was like 12. Since I was a kid. This goes back to when I was living in Ardrossan. And one of the first bits of paper that you'll find when you open up that folder is this. The Mad Writings of a Psychopath. It's like something would be found in Kevin Spacey's house in Seven, but that is the name of all 105 teams, 104 clubs, 105 teams that have reached the final of any European club competition. Any of the main European club competitions, there's now been 4. And I've seen 76 of those teams in the flesh. That's what I collect. That's my thing. 5 of them that I haven't seen. The five of them on that list that I haven't seen. That's Tipex. I do get very excited about European club competition, but not that excited. That is actually Tipex. I went through this strange thing of highlighting them and scoring them out when I'd seen them. I don't give. But the ones that aren't highlighted or scored out, amongst them you have Eintracht Frankfurt. No, I wasn't there. Roma, 20, AZ, and Athletic Club of Bilbao. They were the 5 European finalist clubs that I've never seen in the flesh, and I'm running out of time. I'm 55, and look at the state of me. I'm barely squeezing into this Olympiacos top I bought when I was a mere 20 stone. I'm running out of time. I'm going to be dead before. I have been abroad a few times specifically to tick off. I went to Dusseldorf for a weekend just to see Fortuna against Carl Zeiss Jena, 2 European Cup runners-up teams. What else did I do? I went somewhere else to see. I've been to European finals and what have you. I've been to various places just to see European finalists, but mostly I want them to come to Ibrox. I don't want to be one of the mad German groundhopper types. I just want it to happen over these, and it's taken me 41 years to get to that point. Where I've got 76 teams. I've got 29 left to go. 29. I'm into the 20s. Going to go, and there was 5 of them in that draw yesterday. I thought what was going to be most annoying was that we'd get 5. We'd draw 4 of them, but they'll be away from home. We didn't even get that. We didn't get any of those clubs. That's another conspiracy this weekend that we should be talking about. I'm absolutely raging. But you probably want to know about. I mean, Nice. I've never seen. Nice is the only club in that draw. Only the 8 teams that we got that I've never seen before, and it's the first club Rangers ever played in Europe, and that'd be nice. But they've never been in a European final. I've not done anything in Europe really, so it's not even a big. That's nothing. It's just boring. It's just a boring draw. It's just a lot of hard work. It's going to be. Well, it's not boring. We've got 2 teams from Ligue 1. We've got 2 teams from the English Premier League. We've got champions of Romania, champions of Sweden. We've got an actual European trophy holder in the shape of Olympiacos, who won the Conference League last season, and we've got Union Saint-Gilloise, who finished second in the Belgian Pro League by a point to Bruges last season. So this is a tough old group. The hope is that half of that group, the 2 English sides and the 2 French sides, because they come from top 5 leagues, these are the leagues where most of the teams in there are only concerned, the only other competition they're concerned with other than their super prestigious, super rich domestic top flight is the Champions League. This is a bit of an inconvenience for them. I guess that's just a bit of an inconvenience. But that's the only hope. I better run through these. This pod's taking forever. I'm sorry, folks. There's a lot to discuss this weekend. I'm not going to discuss most of it. I'll need to leave that for the post-match reaction pod tomorrow, which I'm sure will be really cheery. But Who do we get? We got Man U, right? So they finished 8th in the English Premier League last season, but they qualified for the Europa League directly, the group stages directly, the group stage directly by dint of having won the FA Cup. They finished 31 points behind Manchester City in the league. They finished behind Newcastle. They finished behind Aston Villa. They haven't won the league since 2013. They haven't been champions of England since 2013. Manchester United, but they beat Manchester City in that FA Cup final, the second straight All-Manchester Cup final, Manchester Derby FA Cup final, and that put them straight in. They were 6 points away from the Champions League qualification slots, but they finished behind Newcastle, they finished behind Aston Villa, they finished behind clubs that they normally wouldn't want to be finishing behind. Spurs, they finished 5th in the Premier League. They're under a guy called Ange Postecoglou, last Celtic manager we beat. They finished 2 points off the Champions League places in England. Man U haven't won the league since 2013. Spurs haven't won the English title since 1961. We played Manchester United in the 2003-2004 Champions League group stages and the 2010-11 Champions League group stages. First time under Eck. McLeish, we get beat 3-0 at Old Trafford and we lost 1-0 at Ibrox. Phil Neville scoring the only goal of the game. The second time was Sir Walter's second coming and we drew 0-0. Tactical masterclass. Walter's European run formation. We drew 0-0 at Old Trafford and we lost 1-0 at Ibrox. Wayne Rooney penalty that time. So we've played, this is the third time we're playing them in European competition. Spurs, we played them in the 1962-1963 Cup Winners' Cup. Now, Manchester United have won 3 Champions Leagues, or European Cups. Won 58. It was 68. It was 58. It was a Munich air crash. And 10 years later, Sir Matt Busby's still the manager, and cathartically, romantically, whatever, he manages to cement the unbeatable in terms of marketability. Manchester United still the biggest club in Britain. Always have been throughout my life because of the Munich air crash. As much as them winning that 10 years later, they won that European Cup at Wembley, beating Benfica after extra time 4-1. Iconic stuff. And they didn't win it again until 1999, the day I get married. In 1999, I get married on a Wednesday. I get married the day of a European. I love my European football. The biggest commitment I could make to my wife was saying, I am not going to dedicate the whole day to the Champions League final. I'm going to dedicate it to you. And she's regretted it ever since. But they won it in Barcelona. We've won a European trophy in Barcelona, so have they. In the new camp, they were 1-0 down. At the end of football, bloody hell. We remember that game against Bayern, and then they won it in 2008, beating Chelsea on penalties in Moscow in the Luzhniki. Then they lost the final 2009 and 2011 to Barcelona both times. They won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1991, also against Barcelona, Manchester United, Real Madrid, Liverpool. That's the 3 European finals they met in each. That's the 2 or the 4 clubs, but those 2 pairings that I've met most often in European club. Isn't it funny? Liverpool, Manchester United, the biggest classic, not in the same city, but it's biggest derby really in English football. Same with El Clasico. It is a classic. Barcelona against Real Madrid from different cities, but it's the biggest derby in Spanish football, and it's the 2 sides of that have met each other most. Anyway, I find that quite interesting. But they beat Barcelona in the 1991 European Cup Winners' Cup final, England's first trophy in European club competition after the ISO ban, and Manchester United have won all 3. They won the Europa League in 2017, and they lost the final on penalties to Villarreal in 2021 in Gdansk, the season before we lost it on penalties in Sevilla to Eintracht Frankfurt. So Man United, they've got a bit of history. Spurs won the 62-63 Cup Winners' Cup, and they beat us en route to that. They beat us 3-2 at Ibrox. This is the second round, and they gubbed us 5-2 at White Hart Lane. But it was a classic Battle of the British, and Spurs have played in all 3, or they've played in 3. So they've played in 3 European finals, because we have 4 European competitions historically now. Only 3 going at most at any one time, but the Conference League is a 4th European competition. But Spurs have been in the final of 3 of them. Won the Cup Winners' Cup 62-63, eventually beating Atletico Madrid 5-1 in the final in Rotterdam, making them the first British team ever to win a European club competition. Both the number 7s, I think, in that game against Atletico Madrid were called Jones, which was a rare thing in those days because the players playing in foreign countries wasn't the thing it is now. Spurs are just... I do like Spurs. I like Spurs, Everton. They're royalty that goes below the radar sometimes. So Spurs don't go below the radar, but It's going to be a massive night. We're playing Man U at Old Trafford, we're playing Spurs at Ibrox, and that is going to be a massively glamorous occasion. One would hope they went straight in via their fifth place finish in the EPL, straight into group stages. Olympiacos, they went straight into group stages, this group stage of the Europa League, because they won the Conference League. They get promoted, and that's the whole thing. That's the thing that gets to me. The European Super League. It's not here. It's not. We cancelled the European Super League. We fought against it. We turned it. We stopped it happening. Did we really? I was quite prepared for that. I thought the European Super League, what would happen is, it seemed the way the European club competition was going, there was going to be a breakaway. PSG, Bayern Munich, they were refusing to go, so there'll be a breakaway. You have the Champions League. They'd have their champion for 4 or 5 seasons in a row, and there'll be a rival champion. The European Super League champion, there'll be the Champions League champion. Who was the best team in Europe? Eventually, there'll be such a debate about it. TV would be really interested in having that game, the playoff. We have the Super Cup final, we have Charity Shield, we have all these kind of games where the Super Cup isn't a final, the Super Cup isn't a competition, it's just a ceremonial game. But you have these games between. Eventually, we'd have the Super League champions against the Champions League champions, and that would become the Super Bowl. Because we're following the American model. The Super League didn't want relegation. They don't have relegation in America. And for example, the NFL is all about, it was 2 rival conferences. It'd be as a Super League against the Champions League, as it was in the 50s, the 60s, whenever it all happened, and they had their separate champions. And eventually, the teams, New York, the Jets were playing in one conference or one setup, and the Giants were playing in the other one, and eventually they get so sick of the separate. They had to have it. Who was going to be the Super Bowl? The champions of each setup would come together and play each other, and they end up having inter-conference games or whatever it is, inter-franchise, non-relegation derbies and stuff during the regular season, and that's what would happen. It would get merged anyway. It would get back into each other, but we don't have a Super League though. That made sure it doesn't happen. Are you watching what's happening here? There's no cups anymore. It's the Cup Winners' Cup, the UEFA Cup, the European Cup. Now it's the Conference League. The Europa League, the Champions League, even the Nations League, international level. It's leagues. We want leagues all the time because that's better for television. That means there's going to be constant games. Nobody gets knocked out. God forbid anybody should get knocked straight out. There should be any kind of peril in these games. So we're going to have leagues in the Conference League. The reason the Conference League went from being the Europa Conference League to Conference, I would imagine this season, is because they learned at UEFA, about the GM Vauxhall Conference. They thought, oh, that sounds like it's the second division of the Europa League. And it is. It basically is. When you have promotion, we're having relegation during the season. That was one thing that made it not like a league. If you finished third in your group, you dropped into the competition below you. No, we can't have relegation during the season. That's no like that. We want a league. We want a European Super League. So we'll have promotion at the end of the season. If you win the Conference League, as Olympiacos did last season, they're straight into the Europa League group stages. If they win the Europa League this season, Olympiacos, the boys from Piraeus, they will go straight into the Champions League next season. The promotion relegation's there, but you find like in Scotland, in England, we copied the English model. You have to go to the 4th tier before you find a division that sounds like a lower division. It's the Premier League. The Premier League, that's got to be top. That's got to be a top division, hasn't it? Premier League, that sounds prestigious. Below that's the Championship. English Football League Championship was called the Championship because the team who won that were the champions of England originally. But they just retained that name, so it's still, you're in the Championship. You're going to win the Championship. That sounds top level. That can't be a lower tier. Then you get, is it the 3rd division? Is it heck? It's League One. League One is the 3rd tier of English football. That's league number 1. The league that you would want to be in is the number 1 league, League One. Doing the same thing in Scotland. You have to go to the 4th tier before you hit League 2. Is the 4th tier is the only division that sounds like it isn't a top division. Because they think, well, that's stupid. That's how they're marketing this stuff to us. It's not global warming, it's climate change. And that same attitude applied with the same kind of scumbags to a product that we all understand and we pay to get in the gates, and they hate us. They want 3 o'clock kickoffs live on the telly on a Saturday, because they don't care about punters who pay in. That's not where the money is. They want to get rid of all that football that can look after itself. And the UEFA have got 3 competitions. They're not going to have any of them sounding as if it's a lower division. So it's not the Europa Conference League. It's not a conference to the Europa League. It's a conference league. So it's a conference. It's a conference of Europe's great clubs from Wales and Northern Ireland in that competition. So open your eyes. It is a Super League. It's here. It's a ridiculous amount of football we've got to go to, and yet no matter how much football we pay to see this season in the Europa League, we'll not get to see all the teams in our group unless you fork out through the nose and risk your life, etc. Going to all these away venues, because 4 of them are away games only. We played Lyon, as I say, the Europa League group stage of the season. We got to the final in Seville. They finished 6th in Ligue 1 last season. They were 6 points off the Champions League qualifying spots. I'm like 23 points behind Paris Saint-Germain, who won Ligue 1 last season. They're 2 points behind Nice. Nice and Lyon finished in the 2 automatic qualification for the Europa League group stage slots in Ligue 1, and that's it. We've got the 2 of them. We played them in 2008 Champions League group stages, as I was talking about, and then we played them again 2021, 2022. They've never won at home against us, even in the Viola Trophy, which we won in Lyon at the beginning of 55 season. They've never won at home against us. We've never won at home against them. So all to play for there. Olympiacos, as I say, finished 3rd behind PAOK and AEK Athens. PAOK Salonika, AEK Athens in last season's Greek Super League. 6 points, I think they were off at the top of the league. But we've never met them in Europe before. I don't think so anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong. Never met them in Europe before, but it's very rare that Olympiacos don't win the Greek League. These days, especially looking at late 20th century into 21st century, it's been 5 in a row, 7 in a row, 6 in a row, with wee gaps here and there, but they are constantly there. They own the Greek Super League, really. If you think we do conspiracies here, my God, you get into Greek football. But that was only the second Greek club ever to reach a European final after Olympiacos lost the 71 Champions League or European Cup final to Ajax. Panathinaikos losing to Ajax, a classical Greek with it character. The first time a Greek club has won a European trophy, and they did it in Athens, did it at AEK Athens ground as well, when they beat Fiorentina in last season's Conference League final. Quite a moment for them. So we saw them at Ibrox last season, beating us 3-1 in that friendly. Decent outfit, Olympiacos, great club. Union Saint-Gilloise, second in the Belgian Pro League, which they lost by a point to Bruges. So how did they end up? In the Europa League group stages? Well, Slavia Prague absolutely horsed them in the Champions League third qualifying round. Worse than Dynamo Kiev beat us at the same stage, so they dropped in the league path. They dropped straight in the group stage. Malmo, they won the Allsvenskan by 2 goals from Elfsborg last year, and it's a summer season, or it goes from May to, I think, November. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects, at what point. I don't think the fixtures have actually been decided yet, the dates. So it'll be interesting to see at what point we go to Malmo. They could be peak form, or they could be absolutely exhausted. They could even be rusty by the time we play them in Malmo. But they beat us, of course, in the 2011-2012 Champions League third qualifying round. Henrik Larsson scoring their only goal. A guy called Henrik Larsson scoring their only goal against Ali's Rangers, putting them straight out of the Champions League at that stage, 2011-2012 season. Things would get worse that season. And then, of course, Steven Gerrard, they rocked his bid to win the Champions League with Rangers at the very same stage in 2021-2022. We scored a late goal, Steve Davis, over in Malmo in the first leg of that Champions League third qualifying round to bring it back to 2-1. We were 1-0 up at Ibrox. They went down to 10 men. It looked as if we had it in the bag. We were winning on away goals, and a guy called Antonio Cholak scored twice, and that was us out. So we don't have a good record against Malmo. And we must be their last victory, I think, in Europe. They lost all their games in, I think maybe I think they've lost all their games in the Champions League group stage. I think they might have lost all their games in the Europa League, perhaps a couple of seasons ago. Really terrible in Europe. This season they went into the second qualifying round, which is a bit of a slight on the champions of Sweden, I think, of the Champions League. They beat a Faroese side by not very much, I don't think, and then they had a kind of epic against PAOK Salonika in the third qualifying round, and then just during the week there, you'll have seen them going out in the playoff round of the Champions League. They get put out by Sparta Prague, our old pals. Sparta Prague lost 2-0 at home and then 2-0 away, 4-0 in aggregate. Didn't tell the whole story. They missed a penalty at quite a crucial time in that second leg there in Prague, but they were done pretty comfortably in the end by Sparta Prague, so they dropped into the Europa League group stages. What else we got? FCSB, this team that's supposed to be Stoy Bucharest. I know, Rangers died, so you're a Phoenix club, Rangers, very good, but they have been, there's been a dispute, it's been ongoing. I've read about it before, and it's so detailed, so messy legal wise. I think the Steaua Bucharest are playing the second division. I think they play at the Steaua Bucharest Stadium we played at 3 times in the past. The 3 past times we've met them in Europe, and the FCSB that we're playing play at the National Stadium in Bucharest. But they won the league last season in Romania by a few 3 points, I think, from Cluj. And what happened to them? They went straight into the first qualifying round, which tells you where your Romanian football is of the Champions League. They beat a team from San Marino. Second qualifying round, they beat Maccabi Tel Aviv of Israel. Third qualifying round, they get put out by Sparta Prague, so they dropped into the Europa League playoff round where they beat Lask. They beat Linz, the club from Linz. They beat LASK of Austria, and they dropped to the Europa League group stages. This is 69-70 Cup Winners' Cup. We beat them. Steaua Bucharest, 87-88 European Cup. They beat us in the quarter-finals. Their goalkeeper had to go off at Ibrox. Lakatu scored after 7 minutes to put them 3-0 up in aggregate. We got a couple of goals back before half-time, and the atmosphere was so intense. And I remember that it was pretty loud. That their goalkeeper went off. We just having a nervous breakdown. He couldn't handle it, but they still beat us anyway. 95-96 Champions League. Daniel Prodan scored the only goal of the game against us over in Romania, and we signed Big Daniel on the back of that, didn't he? He was a great signing. Only appearance for Rangers, I think, was Ardere, and playing for the reserves down at Ardere Thistle, I think. And they beat us. We drew 1 each at Ibrox with them in that game. The return of that was a pretty desperate. Juventus and Dortmund, I think, the other teams in that group. But a great goal from Gaza, a great solo goal from Gaza that night at Ibrox. But Steaua Bucharest, they should be. We've got them at home. That's got to be a team that we beat. Nice, as I say, they finished 5th in league. The recent European record again. I think they get put out in the qualifying rounds of the Conference League last season by North Zealand. I don't know. Does that mean Diamandis played against them? But it was embarrassing for them anyway. So they've not been great in Europe of late, despite having played twice in the European Cup final. They lost the European Cup final at the Nou Camp in Barcelona in 1989 to the great Milan team, wearing the kind of Barcelona style top. Their colours are kind of Barcelona-ish, Steaua Bucharest, aren't they? Wearing their all-white away kit. They won the European Cup final in 1986 at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan against Barcelona on penalties. So they've done the opposite to us. They've lost the final. We lost a final on penalties at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, and we won a European final at the Nou Camp Stadium, Barcelona. Georgi Hagi played from that 89 final, dad of Yanis Hagi, who is still here. And Yanis Hagi, of course, was born the same day that Rangers beat Bayer Leverkusen in Leverkusen in the old UEFA Cup. And then when he played for Rangers against Braga, he put us through to the last 16 with his 2 goals against Braga that night at Ibrox. He missed a penalty in the second leg, but it didn't matter. And that put us into a game against Bayer Leverkusen. And it's quite amazing the way things work in European football. Nice, they finished 5th in Ligue 1 last season. That puts them direct into the group stages of the Europa League. It's 1959 since they won Ligue 1. They went about 20 odd years out of Europe until they played. I think they beat Kilmarnock in the Cup Winners' Cup in 97-98, and then they've had like every 2 or 3 seasons they appear in Europe. They've played a few times, I think, in the Europa League, but they never really do much in Europe. Do Nice, but they were our first ever opponents back in 1956-57. European Cup. We beat them 2-1 at Ibrox. They beat us 2-1 in the Côte d'Azur, and then it went to a playoff in the Parc des Princes. How romantic is that in Paris? I don't think the game was very romantic, but we lost it 3-1, and that was us. Out in the following season, we played Saint Etienne. We played French clubs. We got a good relationship with French clubs in Europe, and Nice, with which OGC Nice, our first ever opponents in Europe. We will resume that. We're not their first ever opponents in Europe. They played Aarhus in the preliminary round. Before that, Osasuna. That was the night we played Osasuna in the UEFA Cup 1985-86 season, and that was their first ever match. Craig Patterson, only goal of the game. They beat us 2-0 in the away leg, so out we went. But that was Osasuna's first ever match in Europe. I was there. Were you at that game against Osasuna? Didn't know you were witnessing history that night, the men from Pamplona. But anyway, that's a historic match. Todd Cantwell is away to Blackburn after the longest medical in history. I think they made him run from Glasgow down to Ewood Park. That's why it took so long. But he is gone, and he's a bad influence, so he should go. Scott Wright, he's gone to Birmingham City. Ben Davies is there on loan already. And that's Scott Wright scored the winner in that Scottish Cup final. Although Ryan Jack did the real damage, I will be forever grateful to Scott Wright for applying the coup de grace in that game. A game we really needed to win. It'd been unfair if we'd finished that season. This was just days after losing an epic and really grating, exhausting circumstances to Eintracht Frankfurt in that 2022 Europa League final. A few days later, we're playing Hearts, who'd had a free week, and they take us to extra time. Ryan Jack opens the scoring, but then it was Scott Wright applying the coup de grace that day, and I'll forever be grateful to him for that. Never really happened for him. We should also be grateful to him for maintaining that unbeaten record of ours in Lyon, with the goal he scored over there, and that dead rubber. Took a few deflections, 5 or 6, but in it went. And when we drew 1 each with Lyon, under Gio at the end of a group that started really badly, we ended up qualifying a game to spare, really weird. And he also scored, I think goes under the radar, was a goal against St Johnstone midweek after we'd actually sealed the title in 2020-2021. But St Johnstone scored with the last kick of the ball, a penalty, deep into injury time. They equalised, but that would have been a winner. If Scott Wright hadn't scored that goal that night, we wouldn't have finished the season unbeaten. You don't know how the game would have went if we hadn't scored that goal. We would have just kept going until we did score, but Scott Wright scored the goal. So there'll be things like that make a huge difference, but never really happened from it. He never got going properly at Rangers, Scott Wright, but he did play a part at 55 and did play a part in that Scottish Cup win. So I'll forever be, and getting us to the magic moment in the semi-final against Leipzig. He's involved in a sensational goal in the best night of my life at Ibrox. So yeah, Scott Wright will forever have played a major part in my life as a Rangers fan. A lot of it is about the players that have stayed. Matondo. I know we're talking about Hadji, and he's made a complete arse for himself. It's desperate what Yanis Hadji has done on social media, but unlike Todd Cantwell, I don't think it spreads to the training ground. I don't think he'll be a bad influence. I think he'll keep his head down there. He's not going to try and undermine the manager at all. It's more his agent, I think, that's spouting all this crap. But we didn't get rid of Hadji, but neither did we get rid of Matondo, who, let's face it, this time last week we were thinking, he can go. He played well against St Johnstone, but one swallow doesn't make a summer. Matondo can go, and now, as of last Saturday night, we're like 2 goals, 2 assists, hits the bar as well. Matondo's got to stay, get him off that. I hope we've still got Matondo when we go to Parkhead, because we need him down the left-hand side. So he has stayed, and hopefully he's not just been turning it on because of either the wide open spaces of Hampden make him think he's got more room behind defences, or because he's just trying to get a contract cap for Wales, get back to the Wales squad as well for the Nations League. That's fine for Matondo. He's staying. Dessers, let's not kid ourselves on. We want, as much as we forget we wanted Dessers last season, sign Dessers, sign all last season. We forgot how much we wanted Dessers last summer. Sam Lammers, we wanted him as well. Get Lammers signed, announce Lammers. Forgetting that after that game against Hearts at Tynecastle, I think we're the only team not to beat Hearts this season. I wanted Dessers gone. Jack Butland, the whole board had to talk to him individually to sell him Rangers. Thank goodness we managed to convince him. He saved a penalty last time he was at Parkhead. Let's not talk about what happened last time we played Celtic, Jack Butland, but he saved a penalty last time he was at Parkhead. So Jack Butland, it's good. He is a decent goalkeeper, so it's good that we kept him, we kept Dessers, we kept Matondo. We kind of forget sometimes it's about keeping players as well. Ben Davies is away, Connor Golson's away, John Lundstrom's away. John McLaughlin's away. We're missing somebody. Borna Barisic, he's away. This is the thing. If you try to name all the Rangers players that have been brought in this summer, and Matondo and Cortez have also been brought in, technically speaking, as well, even though we got them in January, they've kind of been signed in as well. If you try to bring all the players, Liam Kelly, he came in early doors, Connor Barron, we've got Robin Proper at centre half. Yesterday, I think early on Friday, we confirmed they got the guy Neraisho Kazan Weirjo, born in Amsterdam, under 15, under 16, under 21, Dutch international, not made the full team yet. Kind of utility defender. He can play fullback, he can play centre half. 22 years old. He's played with Groningen in Eredivisie. He started his career at Ajax, young Ajax B team. Ended up at Feyenoord, been loaned out to Rapid Vienna. So he's got good experience already, and hopefully he is pure up for it. So we've got he's added to the defence alongside Proper, another Dutchman who can hopefully kind of coach him as well. Nedim Bajrami was the prestige, the marquee signing, that's the one that tips us over the edge from thinking everything at Rangers is absolutely crap into thinking we're just not as good as Celtic. We don't have the depth of squad, we certainly don't have the money. We've not been spending anything like the money Celtic have been spending, but at least we've got something that makes us believe we're trying to do something within ourselves. We're not going to hopefully make a complete arse of ourselves this season, but the squad's going to get stretched to buggery by this European campaign, but Celtic will be getting stretched to buggery as well by the European campaign. So, we're just basically back to square one, and I think if we can keep the manager, after October, then it'll be absolutely fine. I think when we beat Ross County 6-0, it also changed things from. We'd been at the start of the season. A lot of Rangers fans were saying, "We'll be lucky to finish third." Some Rangers fans would be saying, "We'll be lucky to finish third." Hearts could actually be pushing us this season, but it's not just about Hearts having a bit of a collapse going on just now because they can't handle Europe the way we're kind of not handling it either. But they're not handling it worse. I think it's about us going out and actually, with a narrow win against Motherwell. I'm slightly more comfortable winning the League Cup against St Johnstone. They go out and scalp Ross County 6-0. It's a kind of wee way of saying, without anything having been proven, because it can be proven at this stage of the season, the worst that's going to happen is we're going to finish second again. That's the worst that's going to happen. We've scored 6 goals against a team that had only lost 5 goals in their previous 7 games this season. They played the League Cup group stages, Ross County, so it was a big moment. Sorry folks, this has gone on far too long, but there's been far too much happening in terms of signings and what have you. I know we're not celebrating with the transfer business, but I think there's been so much emphasis on players that we got rid of. Ryan Jack, Kamar Roof, got rid of them as well. So much emphasis on clearing out the squad, we almost forgot. We said that, assuming the board were going to bring in replacements. Well, we've missed out in the fella for Southampton, apparently. We made an arse of that, so that's something we can taunt them with if we get hammered on Sunday and going forward, if we don't achieve what we want to achieve this season. But I think we've done not bad business at all. I think a guy like Philip Clement has got enough to work with, and we have to make sure on Sunday we haven't beaten Celtic over a season. We haven't beaten them in a meaningful game for 2 and a bit years since that Scottish Cup semi-final. We haven't beaten them in a meaningful league game, having a meaningful league victory over them for 3 seasons now. And it's just with our third manager having a go at it. We're going to find out. Certainly, was that like Rangers during 9 in a row? We'd go to Parkhead and win 1-0. We'd win 1-0 all the time. But we're just actually so far ahead of them. It was part of just us dealing with small and feeding all these single goal losses we've been having to Celtic of late. Is this to be kind of the just go to actually scalp us 3 or 4-0? Because they've been so far on top, either we're underestimating how far they are on top of us, or do we go one stage better? And I think a draw. I think we'd ought to take a draw at Parkhead on Sunday, although no doubt if we get a draw, we'll be absolutely raging. We'll have had opportunities to win the game as well, because that's the way it goes at Rangers. But a lot depends on Sunday, but not everything depends on Sunday. And Rangers have just got to go out there and think, well, Celtic will be assuming they're going to win this game, and hopefully there's some arrogance there, and there is tensions amongst the Celtic support about how Celtic are doing their business. So we should go along there, and we can exploit that. As we know, it doesn't take much for it to explode. I was telling you that ghost story. I was telling you my ghost stories, and one of the best ghost stories in television. There's the best films. They make things happen from out of nowhere. The Blair Witch Project. It turns into a horror film by the end, and it's absolutely terrifying. But the scariest, but the best bits at the beginning, where they're talking to people in the local towns, they're just telling them rumours and stories they've heard, and just wee things like, there's a baby crying, so the woman, that's a toddler, she just kind of covers the baby's ears and talks about the woman was floating above the ground. She wasn't actually walking on the ground; she was kind of floating. And just wee things like wee details like that make it really scary. But the scariest bit, the worst bit for the story, for the people involved in the Blair Witch Project, is when Mike throws away the map, because he just thinks things are so ridiculous, things are so bad, he just throws away the map. Because what's the point of having a map? What's the point of having a plan? And there's a lot of Rangers fans just now just want to throw away the map, just want to pack it in, just looking for an excuse. They almost hate their own club so much. Forget, we're here to support Rangers. We're here to just enjoy supporting our club, loving our club. Do not throw away the map. Get behind the team. We will discuss the new signings and all that in more detail. We've got more time and discuss the departures as well. But for now, it's all about Parkhead, and it's all about the attitude. If I had to sum it up, it's kind of, it might happen. It might happen.